The discovery. Dr. Elena Vasquez pressed her palm against the observation window of Titan Research Station, watching the massive alien wreckage slowly rotate in the void beyond. The twisted metal gleamed silver-blue under Saturn's pale light, a haunting reminder of humanity's most mysterious victory. 150 years had passed since the Great Silence War, yet the Cytherian fleet remained exactly where it had died, frozen in space like a monument to an impossible defeat. Still gives you chills, doesn't it? Captain Rex Morrison joined her at the window, his weathered face reflecting years of military service. Though officially retired, Rex served as the station's military historian, one of the few people alive who truly understood the strategic implications of what had happened here. Every time, Elena admitted, adjusting her research tablet. My grandmother fought in that battle. She used to tell me stories about the day the stars went silent. I never understood what she meant until I started studying the wreckage. The Cytherian fleet stretched across several thousand kilometers of space, over 300 vessels of impossible design. Their ships resembled living things more than machines, with organic curves and surfaces that seemed to pulse even in death. Each vessel was a masterpiece of biotechnology, grown rather than built, powered by energy sources that human science still couldn't fully comprehend. In OVA, begin Analysis Protocol 7, Elena commanded, activating the station's advanced AI system. Analysis commencing. Dr. Vasquez came the smooth synthetic voice. Today marks day 2847 of ongoing Cytherian wreckage examination. Current focus. Flagship vessel designated KF Alpha 1. Estimated crew capacity 12,000 entities. Current status. Derelict with partial power signatures detected in core sections. Elena had spent the last 5 years of her career studying these ships, trying to understand how an empire that had conquered half the known galaxy could simply stop. The Cytherians hadn't been defeated in any conventional sense. They hadn't retreated, hadn't surrendered, hadn't even been destroyed by superior firepower. They had simply ceased all activity in the middle of their final assault on Earth, as if every member of their species had fallen asleep simultaneously. Show me the battle reconstruction again, Elena requested. The observation deck's holographic projectors activated, filling the space with a three-dimensional map of the Sol system as it had existed 150 years ago. Tiny points of light represented the human defense fleet, pathetically small compared to the massive Cytherian armada approaching from the outer system. Rex pointed to the human formations. 4th Defense Fleet, Admiral Chen's command. 57 ships total, most of them converted civilian vessels. We were outnumbered 6-1 by an enemy that had never lost a battle. The hologram showed the Cytherian advance, their ships moving in perfect coordination. No radio chatter, no communication delays, nothing but flawless unity of purpose. Elena had studied the recordings countless times, and it still amazed her how the alien fleet moved like a single organism, each ship knowing exactly where every other ship would be at any given moment. The Cytherians were telepathic, Elena explained to her research team, who had gathered to observe the daily analysis. Not just individuals, but their entire species was connected through what they called the unity mind. Every Cytherian could feel the thoughts and emotions of every other Cytherian within several light years. It made them incredibly effective in warfare because they could coordinate instantly across vast distances. The hologram showed the first engagement, human ships desperately trying to intercept the alien advance. Plasma beams and quantum torpedoes lit up the void, but the Cytherian shields held firm. Their return fire was devastatingly precise, each shot calculated to cause maximum damage while conserving energy for the planetary assault to follow. This is where it gets interesting, Rex said, his voice carrying the weight of professional fascination. Watch the Cytherian formation. Elena had seen this moment hundreds of times, but it never failed to intrigue her. At exactly 1437 Coordinated Universal Time, the Cytherian fleet began to falter. Ships that had moved in perfect harmony suddenly started making minor course corrections. Their fire became less accurate. Some vessels began overlapping fields of fire, while others left gaps in their defensive screen. NOVA, isolate the telemetry from KF Alpha 1 during the 1430 to 1500 time window. Isolating data stream. NOVA responded. Warning. Cytherean biomural networks show increasing instability beginning at 1437 cut. Thought pattern coherence drops from 99.7% to 67.2% over a 17-minute period. What could cause that kind of mental disruption? Asked Dr. James Park, Alina's newest team member. Fresh from the academy, he still struggled to understand the implications of what they were studying. Alina pulled up another display, this one showing electromagnetic readings from the human fleet. This is what Admiral Chen called Operation Chaos Theory. Every human ship in the defense fleet was ordered to act completely independently. No coordination, no battle plan, no communication except for absolute emergencies. Each captain was told to fight however they thought best. The hologram showed the result. Human ships scattered in every direction, some charging straight at the enemy, others trying to flank around the massive formation. A few captains decided to retreat to the asteroid belt, while others attempted to use Saturn's rings as cover. It looked like complete chaos, a desperate last stand by a species that had already lost. The Cythereans had conquered 47 different worlds. Rex continued. Every single one of those species fought logically, predictably. They used standard military doctrine, tried to maximize their advantages, minimize their losses. The Cytherean unity mind could predict and counter every move because it was all based on rational tactical thinking. Alina nodded, pulling up her personal research files. But humans don't always think rationally, especially under pressure. We're chaotic, emotional, unpredictable. Captain Sarah Thompson of the UES Defiance decided to ram her destroyer into a Cytherean battlecruiser. Captain Martinez of the cargo hauler New Horizons started broadcasting jazz music on all frequencies while using his industrial plasma cutters as improvised weapons. The fighter squadron from Luna Base began performing aerobatic maneuvers in the middle of combat just to confuse enemy targeting systems. The Unity mind couldn't handle it, Rex said with grim satisfaction. Every time it tried to predict human behavior, we did something completely irrational. The cognitive load of processing 47,000 different, contradictory, emotionally driven decisions started to overwhelm their collective consciousness. The hologram showed the moment of collapse. At 15:3 cut, every Cytherean ship simply stopped. Not destroyed, not damaged, just stopped. Their engines powered down, their weapons went silent, their shields dropped. In the space of 30 seconds, the most powerful fleet in galactic history became a collection of lifeless hulks drifting through space. NOVA, show me the bio readings from the Cytherean crews during the collapse. Displaying neural activity patterns, the AI responded. Cytherean brain function shows a cascade failure beginning in the higher consciousness centers. All subjects appear to have entered a catatonic state within 90 seconds of initial cognitive overload. Alina walked closer to the holographic display, studying the ghostly outlines of the alien ships. They were so connected, so unified, that when their collective mind broke down, it took every individual with it. The chaos of human thinking was like a virus spreading through their telepathic network. Dr. Park looked uncomfortable. Are they dead? We don't know, Alina admitted. Some ships show minimal life signs, but we've never been able to establish communication. They're in some kind of deep stasis, neither alive nor dead. The few boarding parties we've sent to the smaller vessels found the crews in hibernation pods, completely unresponsive but still alive. Rex pulled up another file, this one showing recent sensor readings. Which brings us to today's discovery. NOVA, explain the anomaly detected in KF Alpha 1. Power surge detected in flagship vessel at 6:30 this morning, NOVA reported. Energy levels increased by 400% over baseline readings. Biomural networks show signs of attempted reactivation. Estimated probability of crew revival, 23.7%, and climbing. Elena felt her heart skip a beat. After 150 years of silence, the Cytherian flagship was showing signs of life. How is that possible? The cascade failure should have been permanent. Maybe it was, Rex said quietly. Or maybe their collective consciousness has finally healed enough to try again. Either way, we need to investigate. If there's a chance to communicate with a living Cytherian, to understand what really happened during the battle. Elena was already moving toward the docking bay. Prep the research shuttle. If they're waking up after all this time, I want to be there when it happens. This could be our only chance to get answers from the species that almost conquered the galaxy. As they prepared for the dangerous journey to the alien flagship, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to uncover something far more significant than historical curiosity. The Cytherians had been the greatest threat humanity had ever faced, and understanding how they had been defeated might be crucial for humanity's future among the stars. The wreckage of the Cytherian fleet had kept its secrets for 150 years. Now, as power levels continued to rise aboard the flagship, those secrets might finally be ready to reveal themselves. The final truth. The research shuttle Meridian approached the Cytherian flagship with cautious precision. Elena watched through the viewports as the massive vessel grew larger, its biometallic hull stretching nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern. Unlike human ships, which were built from straight lines and angular surfaces, the Cytherian flagship flowed like a living creature, all curves and organic contours that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. Life support readings are stable, Captain Morrison reported from the pilot's seat. Whatever's happening over there, it's not affecting our systems. Yet. NOVA, are you detecting any telepathic emanations? Elena asked, adjusting her specialized helmet designed to block psychic intrusions. Scanning for psionic activity, NOVA responded through the shuttle's communication system, detecting low-level telepathic fields, approximately 0.3% of pre-war levels, insufficient strength to affect human consciousness, but indicating minimal mental activity aboard the target vessel. Elena felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension as they approached the flagship's docking bay. The Cytherians had been so alien, so incomprehensible, that humanity had never truly understood their enemy. All the battles, all the victories and defeats, had been fought against an opponent whose motivations remained completely mysterious. There, Rex pointed to an opening in the flagship's side. Docking Bay 17. Sensors show it's still pressurized and heated. Whatever's powering this ship is trying to maintain life support. The shuttle settled into the alien docking bay with barely a tremor. Outside, Elena could see the strange beauty of Cytherian architecture. The walls curved in mathematical spirals, covered with symbols that seemed to shift and change as she watched. Bioluminescent panels provided a soft, blue-green light that pulsed in rhythm like a slow heartbeat. Atmospheric composition is within acceptable parameters for human life, NOVA announced. Temperature, 21.3 degrees Celsius. Humidity, 67%. Oxygen levels adequate. Detecting trace amounts of psychoactive compounds in the air, but below threshold for affecting human brain function. Elena sealed her helmet anyway. The last thing they needed was to be influenced by alien pheromones or mind-altering substances. Stay close, she told Rex as they activated the shuttle's airlock. If this goes wrong, I want to be able to reach the ship quickly. The docking bay was eerily quiet, their footsteps echoing strangely in the curved corridors. Emergency lighting provided just enough illumination to see, but shadows seemed to move at the edge of their vision. Elena had studied the architectural plans recovered from smaller Cytherian vessels, but being inside one of their ships was a completely different experience. The command center should be in the central core, she said, consulting her tablet. Follow the main corridor, then up 3 levels through the neural interface chamber. As they walked, Elena couldn't help but marvel at the ship's construction. Every surface was covered with what looked like circuit patterns, but instead of metal conductors, these were made from some kind of organic material that still flickered with faint energy. The Cytherians had grown their technology rather than building it, creating ships that were as much living organism as machine. Dr. Vasquez, Neovia's voice crackled through their communicators. I'm detecting increased neural activity ahead of your position. Something is definitely awakening on this ship. They found the command center exactly where Elena expected it to be, a vast spherical chamber at the heart of the flagship. The walls were covered with bioneural interfaces, organic computers that had once linked directly to Cytherian minds. In the center of the chamber, surrounded by dormant control systems, was a single hibernation pod. And it was opening. Elena watched in fascination as the pod's lid slowly dilated like an iris, revealing the figure inside. The Cytherian was unlike anything she had expected. Where humans were angular and mechanical in their movements, this being flowed like liquid. Its skin was translucent, showing the slow pulse of bioluminescent organs beneath. 4 arms ended in hands with too many fingers, and its head was dominated by large, multifaceted eyes that seemed to see in dimensions beyond human perception. It's beautiful, Elena whispered, momentarily forgetting the danger. The Cytherian's eyes opened, focusing on the 2 humans with obvious confusion. When it spoke, the words came not from its mouth, but directly into their minds, despite the psychic shielding in their helmets. Strange ones, noisemakers, chaos bringers. You are the ones who broke the unity. Rex's hand moved instinctively toward his sidearm, but Elena stopped him. It's not hostile. It's trying to understand what happened. The alien slowly sat up in its pod, movements graceful despite obvious weakness. I am High Commander Zarthek, first voice of the Cytherian unity. I was dreaming. For how long? 150 years, Elena said aloud, hoping the creature could understand human speech as well as project thoughts. Impossible. The unity does not sleep. The unity is eternal, unbreakable, perfect in its harmony. Elena felt a wave of confusion and grief emanating from the alien commander, emotions so powerful they penetrated her psychic shielding. Your unity broke during the battle for Earth. Your entire fleet fell into hibernation when your collective consciousness collapsed. Zarthek stood on unsteady legs, moving to one of the bioneural interfaces. When it touched the organic surface, the chamber filled with holographic displays showing the final moments of the battle. Elena watched the alien's face change as it processed the recorded data, its expression shifting from confusion to understanding to something that might have been horror. Show me, Zarthek commanded. Show me how the unity was broken. Elena activated her own recording device, displaying the human perspective of the battle. She showed the Cytherian fleet's perfect coordination, then the moment when Admiral Chen ordered all human ships to act independently. The alien commander watched in silence as chaos erupted across the battlefield, human vessels performing impossible, irrational maneuvers that defied all military logic. I remember now, Zarthek said, its mental voice heavy with ancient pain. The noise. The terrible, beautiful noise of your minds. We could feel every one of you, every chaotic thought, every irrational decision. The unity tried to process it all, to find the pattern, to predict your actions. But there was no pattern, Elena said softly. That was the point. We deliberately acted without coordination, without logic, without any kind of unified strategy. Your minds sang with such discord, the alien continued. Fear and hope mixed together, rage and love existing in the same moment, decisions made from pure emotion rather than calculation. The unity had never encountered anything like it. For 3,000 years, we had conquered species that thought in straight lines, that made rational choices, that could be predicted and countered. Rex leaned forward. Your entire military doctrine was based on the assumption that all intelligent species would think like you did. Precisely. The unity provided perfect coordination because all Cytherians shared the same thought patterns, the same emotional responses, the same logical frameworks. When we encountered other species, they were different from us but still predictable in their difference. Anxiety-driven species would retreat when threatened. Logic-based species would attempt to maximize their advantages. Honor-driven species would fight to the death but follow conventional tactics. Elena began to understand. But humans combine all of those traits randomly. We can be logical one moment and completely irrational the next. We make decisions based on emotion, then justify them with logic, then abandon both logic and emotion to follow pure instinct. Your minds were like a virus in the Unity, Zarthek explained, its mental voice filled with something that might have been awe. Every time we tried to predict one of your vessels, it would do something impossible. A cargo ship would ram a battlecruiser. A fighter pilot would ignore a tactical advantage to help a damaged ally. Your admiral broadcast music in the middle of combat, not as a weapon, but simply because it made him feel better. The holographic display showed the moment of cascade failure, when the Cytherian fleet had simply stopped functioning. Elena watched as the alien commander relived the collapse of its species' greatest strength. The Unity tried to process 47,000 different human minds simultaneously, Zarthek continued. 47,000 unique personalities, each making decisions based on individual experience, emotion, intuition, and irrationality. The cognitive load was too great. The Unity shattered like crystal struck by discordant sound. But you survived, Rex pointed out. You're awake now. I survived because I was isolated in the command pod when the cascade began. My mind was partially shielded from the full impact of the collapse. For 150 years, I have been slowly, carefully rebuilding my consciousness, trying to understand what happened to us. Elena felt a profound sadness emanating from the alien commander. Your entire species fell into hibernation because of us. Not because of you, Zarthek corrected. Because of our own limitations, we believed that unity of thought was the highest form of intelligence, that perfect harmony was the ultimate goal of any civilization. We never considered that diversity of thinking might be its own form of strength. The alien moved to another interface, calling up data about the Cytherian Empire. The displays showed world after world, species after species, all of them conquered and absorbed into the Unity. Elena realized that the Cytherians hadn't just been invaders, they had been trying to bring what they saw as perfection to the galaxy. We gave every species we encountered the gift of the Unity, Zarthek explained. We ended their wars, their conflicts, their confusion. We brought them harmony, purpose, perfect coordination. We thought we were saving them from the chaos of individual thought. But you were destroying what made them unique, Elena said. Yes, and when we encountered humanity, your chaos destroyed us in return. It is fitting, perhaps. We sought to eliminate the unpredictable, and the unpredictable eliminated us. Rex looked at the displays showing the sleeping Cytherian fleet. What happens now? Will your people wake up? Some will, eventually. Others may never recover from the cascade failure. Our empire is gone, our unity broken beyond repair. Those who do awaken will have to learn to live as individuals, to think their own thoughts, to make their own choices. The alien's mental voice carried a note of wonder. It terrifies us, but perhaps that terror is the beginning of wisdom. Elena felt an unexpected kinship with this ancient enemy. We could help you. Teach you how to live with individual consciousness, how to find strength in diversity rather than unity. That would be appreciated. Though I suspect we have much to learn from each other. Your species has shown us that chaos and order can coexist, that unpredictability can be its own form of intelligence. As they prepared to leave the flagship, Elena reflected on what they had discovered. Humanity's greatest victory hadn't come from superior technology or military genius. It had come from their fundamental nature as chaotic, unpredictable, individually minded beings. The very qualities that made humans seem disorganized and inefficient had proven to be their greatest strength when facing an enemy that could only think in terms of perfect unity. The war had been won not through human superiority, but through human diversity. And perhaps, Alina thought as she watched Zarthek slowly awakening his hibernating crew, that diversity would now help both species learn from each other and build a better future among the stars. The Silent Watchers had finally found their voice, and humanity had found its true strength in the beautiful chaos of individual thought.